In front of the reincarnation hall of the underworld, my sister and I were presented with two choices. One was a life of luxury in a wealthy family in the capital, the other a humble existence as a peasant in the northeastern countryside. My sister was quick-witted and swift-footed. She kicked me aside, clutching the privilege of becoming a wealthy heiress in the capital with a triumphant grin. "Sister, I'll take this life of riches for you first." Left with no choice, I ended up in the peasant family of the Northeast. I thought life would be austere, but unexpectedly, my parents owned hundreds of acres of fertile land and thousands of cattle and sheep. As their only daughter, they doted on me like a pearl in their palm, never letting me suffer the slightest grievance. Since childhood, I grew up wild amidst the white mountains and black waters, developing a cheerful and eloquent personality with an infectious vitality that brought laughter wherever I went. When the college entrance exam results were announced, I secured admission to a top-tier 985 university in Beijing through sheer academic merit. During a campus event, I bumped into the revered Buddha prince, whom everyone in Beijing's elite circles adores. Cold and aloof, with an ethereal aura, rumors say 80% of women in the capital city dream of marrying him, including my sister, who was reborn into wealth. She pursued him for 3 years, only to be met with constant detachment. I never thought of climbing the social ladder, yet this untouchable nobleman seemed bewitched. Frequently arranging chance encounters, he would stand quietly by, listening to my animated tales of northeastern snow and our family's livestock, his icy demeanor softening into warm smiles, his gaze fixed on me with startling intensity. The elite circles of the capital were sent into a frenzy. Has the Buddha's son actually fallen for some wild country girl? Compared to meticulously polished socialites, he favors this untamed vitality. When my sister found me, her eyes were brimming with venomous jealousy. "Why you, a bastard from the countryside, just his fleeting plaything." In the heat of the argument, she lost her temper and suddenly pushed me off the high-rise building. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in the Hall of Rebirth. This time, my younger sister frantically rushed to claim the spot meant for a peasant family in the Northeast. She glanced at me triumphantly, her tone venomous and boastful. "Sister, this time it's my turn to be the rural Cinderella, and the monk's love should finally be mine. You go ahead and be that unloved canary in the wealthy family." Chapter 1. The intense white light temporarily blinded me, followed by a suffocating sense of compression, as if my entire soul had been crammed into a tiny container. Then, a warm force enveloped me, and muffled voices reached my ears. "It's a girl, congratulations, President Lin, it's a baby girl," an excited female voice exclaimed. I struggled to open my eyes, but could only make out blurry shapes of light. An infant's body was so fragile that even controlling my eyelids felt difficult. "Let me see her," a deep, magnetic male voice sounded, and then I was taken into a pair of strong yet gentle arms. Through my gradually clearing vision, I saw a handsome middle-aged man. He had well-defined features, and his deep eyes sparkled with unconcealable joy. This was my father in this life, the helmsman of the Lin Group. "Lin Jinhao, little beauty, I'm your dad," he whispered softly, his fingertips gently brushing my cheek with a touch so light, as if afraid he might break me. At this moment, an elegant woman was helped to sit up. Though her face was pale, it radiated a blissful smile. "Quick, let me hold our daughter." This was my mother, Lin Wan. She had the gentle features typical of a woman from Jiangnan, yet her eyes revealed an undeniable strength. "We finally have a daughter." Mother cradled me gently in her arms, the jewel of the Lin family, destined to have the finest things in the world. Standing nearby was a boy about 7 years old, my brother, Lin Chenxian. Curious, he leaned closer and cautiously touched my tiny hand. "She's so tiny," he exclaimed in amazement. "I'll protect her and never let anyone bully her." A warm current flowed through my heart. Is this what family feels like? In my previous life, my northeastern parents gave me all their love. In this life, it seems I won't lack affection either. "Have you decided on a name yet?" the nurse asked with a smile. My father and mother exchanged glances, then looked at me tenderly. "Lin Weiyue," a gentle breeze brushing the face, moonlight soft and serene. "May her entire life be as peaceful and beautiful as this." My heart trembled. Lin Weiyue, the same name as in my past life. Fate seemed to have some unseen connection. "Weiyue, welcome to the Lin family." My brother gently squeezed my small hand, his eyes filled with pure joy. At this moment, I secretly resolved, in this life, I will live a different kind of brilliance. On the grander stage of Beijing's elite circles, I will use my own way to claim everything that belongs to me. As for Lin Wanqing, she thought she had taken away my advantage from my previous life, but but she didn't realize that wasn't the key at all. The real advantage always comes from within. Outside the window, the night sky of Jing City was dotted with stars, and a bright moon hung high, casting a soft silver glow. In some corner of this bustling city, was that man known as Buddha's son, also gazing at the same sky right now. We'll meet again soon, I thought to myself, and this time I'll encounter you with a different identity, in a different way. Fate has given me a second chance, and what I must do is live my most brilliant self. No matter where I am, I will always be Lin Weiyue. Chapter 2. Time flies like a fleeting white horse, and in the blink of an eye, I'm already 16, in the early summer of Jing City. Sunlight streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows into the dance studio as I practice ballet poses in front of the mirror. Point work. Pirouettes. Every movement strives for perfection. Weiyue, take a break. You've been practicing since morning, the dance teacher gently advises. I nod with a smile and pick up a towel to wipe away my sweat. The girl in the mirror had a slender figure, delicate features, and her long, raven black hair was elegantly pinned up, revealing a smooth forehead and a graceful neck. This is who I am in this life. The heiress of the Lin Group, a celebrated socialite in the upper echelons of Jing City. Stepping out of the dance studio, the butler was already waiting outside. Miss, Madam requests your presence in the tea room. I gave a slight nod and followed the butler down the long corridor. The Lin family residence is located in the most expensive villa district of the capital city, occupying a vast area with luxurious yet tasteful decor. Over 6 years, I've grown completely accustomed to life here. In the tea room, Mother Lin Wan was brewing tea. She wore a light purple cheongsam today, exuding an air of noble elegance. Mom, I called softly, sitting down across from her. Next month will be your 16th birthday. Mother pushed a cup of light tea toward me. We plan to host a grand birthday banquet for you at the Hilton Hotel, where all the elite of Jing City will be present. I picked up the teacup and took a small sip. Thank you, Mom, you've gone to so much trouble. Mother looked at me with satisfaction. You're always so sensible, my child, not like the Chen family's daughter, who causes chaos every day. I smiled without responding. In this lifetime, I understand the rules of high society life all too well. Be dignified and graceful in public, and filial and considerate at home, thanks to the eloquence and joyful charisma I cultivated in my previous life. I not only became the apple of my parents' eye but also earned an excellent reputation among the elite circles of the capital. Oh, my mother suddenly remembered. The Gu family has confirmed they'll attend your birthday banquet. Mrs. Gu specifically mentioned she'd bring her youngest son along. My teacup paused slightly in my hand. The Gu family is the most prestigious wealthy clan in the capital city, and the youngest son, my mother mentioned, is none other than Gu Qingyuan. Known as the Buddha Master, I understand, I replied calmly, though a ripple of emotion stirred within me. Mother studied my expression carefully. That Gu boy has already made a name for himself in the business world at such a young age, and he's quite handsome too. It's just that his temperament is too cold. Many young ladies have tried to get close to him, only to be met with rejection. I gently set down my teacup. Mom, I'm only 16, it's too early to be talking about these things. My mother smiled and said no more. Returning to my room, I stood by the window, gazing at the meticulously trimmed garden in the courtyard. In this life, I possess enviable family background, beauty, and talent, yet deep down, I often reminisce about fragments of my past life, the vast lands of the Northeast, my simple and kind-hearted parents, the carefree days of childhood. Those memories are like imprints carved deep into my soul, never to fade. Miss, the young master has returned. The servant announced outside the door. I turned and walked out of the room, and as soon as I went downstairs, I saw my brother Lin Qinxian walking in with an exquisite gift box in his hand. Now a university student, he had inherited our father's handsome features and tall stature. This is for you. He handed me the gift box. I passed by Chanel and thought this brooch would suit you perfectly. I opened the gift box to find an exquisite camellia brooch inside. It's beautiful, thank you. Brother, Lin Qinxian ruffled my hair, nervous about next month's birthday banquet. I heard half the elite families in the capital will be attending. A little, I admitted honestly, especially since the Gu family will be there. A flicker of understanding passed through my brother's eyes. That kid Gu Qingyuan, don't worry, though he's cold by nature, he's not difficult to get along with. I met him at a business forum last week. Truly talented, just a bit too quiet. I nodded, but thought to myself, I understand better than anyone the tenderness hidden beneath Gu Qingyuan's aloof exterior. At dinner time, my father Lin Zhenhao also returned home. At the dining table, he mentioned a piece of news that surprised me. There's an agricultural project in the Northeast recently, and I went to inspect it personally, father said casually as he cut his steak. My movements paused slightly. I came across something interesting over there, father continued, a farmer's daughter. About Weiyue's age, has been causing chaos at home. I heard the girl constantly complains about her parents being unsophisticated, refuses to study properly, and keeps shouting about marrying into a wealthy family someday. My heart skipped a beat. That must be Lin Wanqing. Such a thing, mother frowned. That farmer spoils their child too much, father shook his head. I heard that couple is really at their wits' end and considering whether to have another child. If that girl keeps making trouble like this, sooner or later something bad will happen. I silently ate my dinner with my head down, feeling a mix of emotions. Lin Wanqing indeed repeated her past mistakes. Even with a changed identity and environment, she remained trapped by her own jealousy and narrow-mindedness. After dinner, I went alone to the courtyard. The summer night breeze brushed against my face, carrying a faint floral fragrance. Gazing up at the starry sky, I couldn't help but wonder. Fate gives us the chance to choose again, but what ultimately determines our lives? Is it the environment, our identity, or our own choices? Weiyu, my brother's voice came from behind. What are you thinking about? I turned around and smiled faintly. I was just thinking, people are really strange. Some have everything yet remain unsatisfied, while others live happily even with very little. Lin Chenxian looked at me thoughtfully. You always think so deeply. But you're right, happiness truly has nothing to do with how much one possesses. We stood side by side under the starry sky, sharing a moment of silence. Brother, I asked softly, if you had the chance to choose your life again, would you take a different path? He smiled and said, no, because right now, I'm very satisfied with how things are. I smiled too. Me too. Chapter 3. On the night of the birthday banquet, the ballroom of the Hilton Hotel was dazzlingly brilliant. I stood at the entrance of the ballroom to greet guests, wearing a custom-made pale pink gown and a diamond necklace my father had specially chosen for me. With a perfectly measured smile and graceful demeanor. This is the result of 16 years of meticulous study. You look absolutely stunning today, Weiyue. Countless guests offered such compliments, to which I responded politely one by one, though my gaze involuntarily drifted toward the entrance. Where is he? The Gu family has arrived. The MC's voice rang out, and my heartbeat inexplicably quickened. At the entrance, Mrs. Gu walked in with dignified elegance, accompanied by a tall, upright young man, dressed in a meticulously tailored black suit. His features were refined, and between his brows carried a composure and aloofness that belied his age. Gu Qingyuan, this is our first formal meeting in this lifetime. Mother quickly stepped forward. Madam Gu, it's wonderful that you could come. This must be Qingyuan. Truly a fine young man. Madam Gu smiled in response, then turned to me. So this is Weiyue. She's grown even more lovely. I gave a slight bow. You flatter me, Mrs. Gu. Thank you both for coming tonight. At that moment, Gu Qingyuan's gaze fell upon me. A fleeting emotion flashed through those deep eyes. So quick I almost thought I'd imagined it. Happy birthday, Miss Lin. His voice was cool yet unexpectedly pleasant. Thank you, young Master Gu. I maintained a proper smile, though my heart was in turmoil. This was the man who, in my past life, would always listen to me quietly. His eyes filled with a gentle smile. Qingyuan has been in charge of the group's new project recently and has done exceptionally well. Mrs. Gu's tone was full of pride. Gu Qingyuan frowned slightly. Seemingly unaccustomed to such praise. You flatter me, mother. At that moment, a familiar yet strange voice chimed in. Good evening, Madam Gu, young Master Gu. I turned my head and saw Chen Yuro, the daughter of the Chen family, gracefully approaching. She was a renowned talented woman in the capital's elite circles and one of Gu Qingyuan's fervent admirers. Yuro is here too. Madam Gu, clearly acquainted with her, warmly took her hand and exchanged pleasantries. Chen Yuro smiled in response, her gaze lingering on Gu Qingyuan. Qingyuan, long time no see. I heard your investment on Wall Street last month was quite successful. Truly admirable. Gu Qingyuan merely gave a slight nod without responding. Watching this scene, I couldn't help but find it amusing. In this lifetime, Gu Qingyuan remained the same aloof and indifferent, Buddha-like master, toward his pursuers. Weiyu, let's go meet the other guests over there. Mother tactfully broke the awkward atmosphere. I nodded and politely bid farewell to the Gu family. As I turned around, I could feel someone's gaze lingering on me. The banquet continued amidst laughter and cheerful conversations. I mingled among the guests, speaking with grace and carrying myself elegantly, earning much praise, yet my attention kept drifting involuntarily toward that solitary figure standing in the corner. Gu Qingyuan hardly spoke to anyone, quietly sipping his wine. Occasionally responding to one or two who approached him, his gaze often swept across the room, always settling on me in the end. In my previous life, he also watched me quietly like this in the crowd. During the intermission, I walked alone to the terrace for some fresh air. The cool breeze of the summer night brushed against my face, slightly easing the stifling heat of the banquet. Don't like occasions like this. A cool voice came from behind me. I turned around and saw Gu Qingyuan standing not far away, holding 2 glasses of champagne in his hands. Just a bit tired, I said softly as I took the glass he offered, thanking him quietly. We stood side by the railing, watching the endless stream of car lights below. Silence spread through the air, yet strangely, it didn't feel awkward. You're not quite like the rumors say, he suddenly spoke up. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. What do the rumors say about me, a spoiled, arrogant young miss of the Lin family? I chuckled lightly. And what about me now? He turned to look at me, curiosity in his eyes. More real. Does young Master Gu evaluate everyone like this? No, his reply was crisp and decisive. Only you. We fell into silence again, but the atmosphere this time was distinctly different. An indescribable tension spread between us. Qingyuan, so this is where you've been. Chen Yuro's voice shattered the momentary tranquility. She strode over, almost forcefully inserting herself between us. Madame Gu is looking for you. Gu Qingyuan's brows furrowed almost imperceptibly. Understood. He gave me a slight nod before turning to leave. Chen Yuro followed closely behind him, not forgetting to give me a triumphant glance before leaving. As the banquet drew to a close, I stood on stage to deliver my thank you speech. My gaze swept across the room, and I saw Gu Qingyuan standing at the back of the crowd, watching me intently. At that moment, it felt as if the entire world had fallen silent, leaving only the 2 of us gazing at each other across the distance. Thank you all for coming tonight. This kindness, Wei Yue will remember forever. I smoothly delivered the final line, and enthusiastic applause erupted from the audience. After the banquet concluded, I stood at the entrance bidding farewell to the guests. Gu Qingyuan was the last to leave. It was a pleasant evening, he said, his tone still calm but his gaze unusually profound. Thank you for coming, I replied. He paused, as if wanting to say something, but in the end merely gave a slight nod before turning to leave. Watching his retreating figure, a strange feeling stirred in my heart. This lifetime's encounter seemed entirely different from the last, yet there was a subtle similarity. He's quite special, isn't he? My brother's voice came from behind. I turned around and saw Lin Chenxian leaning against the doorframe, a knowing smile on his face. The renowned Buddha Prince of Beijing's elite circles truly lives up to his reputation, I remarked casually. My brother stepped closer and patted my shoulder lightly. But I can tell he treats you differently. I raised an eyebrow. How so? He glanced at you more times tonight than he's looked at all other women combined in the past year. I couldn't help but laugh. Brother, you're exaggerating. But deep down, I knew perfectly well that my brother wasn't wrong. Gu Qingyuan's attitude toward me was indeed special. Though he still maintained his distance, those always cold eyes would inevitably flicker with warmth whenever they looked at me. Returning home, I stood before the dressing table and removed the diamond necklace from around my neck. The girl in the mirror had delicate features and an elegant demeanor, truly befitting her status as a wealthy heiress. Chapter 4. On a late autumn afternoon, I sat in the sunroom of the Lin family mansion. Flipping through the latest economics magazine, beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, the maple trees in the courtyard had already turned a brilliant shade of red. Young miss, there's a package for you, the maid announced softly, handing over a plain parcel. I was somewhat surprised. Upon unwrapping the package, I found inside a research report on agricultural development in northeast China. The attached note bore only a few brief words. Thought you might be interested, Gu Qingyuan. Ever since the birthday banquet, this so-called Buddha-like master of Beijing's elite circles has been appearing in my life through various unexpected means. Sometimes it's a chance encounter at a business forum, sometimes it's a book delivered at just the right moment, never crossing boundaries, yet always maintaining a subtle presence. I gently stroked the report, my lips curling into an unconscious smile. Gu Qingyuan in this lifetime was more restrained than in the previous one, yet also more persistent. What are you reading that's so engrossing? My brother Lin Chenxuan's voice came from the doorway. I instinctively closed the report and smiled. A survey on northeast agriculture. some of the data is quite interesting. My brother sat down across from me with a strange expression. Speaking of which, Dad returned from his inspection trip to the Northeast yesterday and mentioned something quite heartbreaking. I tightened my grip on the report in my hand. What happened? Remember that rebellious girl from the farming family Dad mentioned before? Things have gotten even worse. My brother sighed. Her parents couldn't stand her behavior anymore and had a baby boy last month. But then the girl actually poisoned the infant's formula. I gasped sharply. What? Fortunately, it was discovered early, and the child is fine, but that girl was caught red-handed and now, my brother paused. I heard she was sent to a mental hospital. A chill ran up my spine. Although I had sensed it coming, I still didn't expect Lynn wanting to go this far. She's only 16, I murmured softly, my heart filled with mixed emotions. My brother shook his head. I heard the girl was still screaming when they took her away, saying something about how she should have been the Lynn family's heiress, how the Buddha's son should have been hers. I looked up abruptly. What else did she say? What, do you know her? My brother keenly noticed my unusual reaction. No, it's just so tragic. I quickly masked my emotions. How can someone live in their own delusion to this extent? My brother looked at me thoughtfully. It really is tragic. Dad said that farming couple cried their hearts out. They simply couldn't understand why their daughter had turned out this way. I lowered my head, staring at the report in my hands, a pang of sorrow welling up inside me. Those parents from the Northeast, who should have been such kind and simple people, had to endure such pain because of Lynn Wanching's willful actions. Fate is truly ironic. My brother stood up and gently patted my shoulder. Some people desperately try to escape their origins, unaware of how many envy the happiness they possess. After my brother left, I sat alone in the sunroom for a long time. The maple leaves outside swayed in the autumn wind, like the capriciousness of fate. I recalled my childhood in the Northeast in my previous life, those vast fields, the simple-hearted neighbors, and parents who loved me unconditionally. Though life was simple, that warmth and freedom were treasures no amount of money could buy. Lynn Wanching stole my past life. Yet she never learned to cherish it. She only saw the superficial material conditions but failed to recognize their true worth. Young miss, Master Gu is here to see you. The butler's announcement interrupted my thoughts. I was somewhat surprised. Please ask him to wait in the living room. After composing myself, I walked toward the living room. Gu Qingyuan stood by the window, his posture as straight and tall as a pine tree. Hearing my footsteps, he turned around. In his usually cool and distant eyes, there seemed to be a trace of concern. Did you receive the report? He asked. I nodded. Thanks. Very detailed information. We sat in silence for a moment before he suddenly said, You seem upset. I was surprised by his sharpness. Why do you say that? Your smile, he said softly, is different from usual. This sentence struck a chord in my heart. Has Gu Qingyuan in this life already come to know me so well? I just saw some sad news, I replied truthfully, pointing at the report. He nodded knowingly. That case in the Northeast, did you see that too? The research team mentioned this case during their briefing to me. He paused. It's tragic, yet not incomprehensible. I raised an eyebrow. How so? Some people always live elsewhere, unable to cherish the present. His gaze was profound. Little do they know, happiness is never elsewhere, but in how we view what we already have. This sentence struck straight to my heart. Yes, whether in my past life or this one, I have always strived to be the best version of myself, while Lynn Wanching forever wastes herself away in jealousy and discontent. You're right, I smiled, this time with much more sincerity. A glimmer of amusement flashed in Gu Qingyuan's eyes. The National Center for the Performing Arts has a new production of Swan Lake next week. Interested? I was somewhat surprised by his direct invitation, but still nodded. I really like ballet. Then, I'll pick you up at 7 on Saturday night. His tone was calm, as if it were just an ordinary date, but I knew what a sensation it would cause in Beijing's elite circles for the Gu family's revered patriarch to personally invite a young lady to the ballet. After seeing Gu Qingyuan off, I returned to my room and stood by the window, gazing into the distance. To the northeast, Lynn Wanching should be in the psychiatric hospital by now, continuing her delusions. As for me, I'm about to embark on my first official date with Gu Qingyuan in this lifetime. Fate gave us the same starting point, but because of different choices, we've headed in completely opposite directions. My phone vibrated. A text from Gu Qingyuan. Looking forward to Saturday. Just 4 simple words, yet they made the corners of my mouth curl up involuntarily. Chapter 5. On Saturday evening, I stood in front of my closet, unusually indecisive about the array of dresses before me. Need some help? My mother's voice came from the doorway. She walked in with a smile, her eyes scanning the row of dresses before settling on a knee-length pale blue one. "This suits you well, neither too formal nor too casual." I took the dress and held it up in front of the mirror. "Gu Qingyuan, what kind of person is he?" My mother helped zip up the back. And our eyes met in the mirror. "Why do you ask?" "Just curious." I adjusted the hem of the dress. "The Buddha Prince of the Beijing elite circle. Sounds like someone untouched by worldly affairs." Mother chuckled lightly. "Qingyuan is indeed different. His father passed away early, and he started helping his mother manage the family business when he was very young. Perhaps because of that, he matured much faster than his peers." I pondered thoughtfully. So even in this lifetime, Gu Qingyuan had his own hidden hardships, but... My mother examined my makeup carefully. "His attitude toward you is indeed special. Madame Gu told me just the other day that Qingyuan has never proactively invited any girl before." Just then, the doorbell rang downstairs. My heart inexplicably raced. "Go on." My mother patted my shoulder gently. "Just be yourself." I took a deep breath and walked down the stairs. Gu Qingyuan stood in the living room, talking with my father. Today, he wore a dark gray casual suit, shedding some of his usual business sharpness and appearing more refined. When he saw me, his eyes noticeably brightened. "You look beautiful." "Thank you," I smiled. On the way to the National Center for the Performing Arts, soft classical music flowed through the car. Gu Qingyuan drove steadily, much like the impression he gave, solid and reliable. "Do you often watch ballet?" I broke the silence. "Occasionally," he replied. "My mother is a ballet enthusiast, so I've been exposed to it since childhood." I was somewhat surprised. I didn't expect Mrs. Gu to like ballet. He slightly curved his lips. "Many people have stereotypes about wealthy families." His words struck a chord in me. Indeed, the world only sees the glamour of the wealthy, unaware of the uniqueness and authenticity of each individual within. The National Center for the Performing Arts was brilliantly lit, and by the time we arrived, a crowd of media reporters had already gathered at the entrance. Gu Qingyuan gently held my arm, guiding me through the crowd in a protective manner. "Master Gu, is this your girlfriend?" a reporter boldly asked. Gu Qingyuan didn't respond, merely signaling the bodyguards with his eyes to keep the reporters at bay. But his silence only fueled more speculation. Our seats were in the VIP box on the second floor, offering an excellent view. As soon as I sat down, I felt a burning gaze upon me. Turning my head, I saw Chen Yuro sitting in the neighboring booth with a group of her friends. Chen Yuro's stare was intense enough to bore holes through me. "Would you like to change seats?" Gu Qingyuan asked softly. I shook my head. "No need." The performance began, and the theater darkened. The poignant melody of Swan Lake flowed through the air, the white swan on stage graceful yet sorrowful. When the plot reached the part where the prince was bewitched by the black swan, I felt Gu Qingyuan's gaze fall upon me. "You resemble a white swan more," he suddenly remarked during the intermission. I raised an eyebrow. "Why? Black swans are too flamboyant, while white swans," he paused, "carry resilience within elegance, strength concealed in gentleness." His words left me stunned. In my past life, he had said something similar. Back then I was a wild girl from the Northeast, yet he said I had the soul of a white swan. "What's wrong?" He noticed my distraction. "Nothing," I smiled. "I just didn't expect you to know ballets so well." When the black swan completed those famous 32 fouettes after the second act began, the entire theater erupted in enthusiastic applause. I noticed Gu Qingyuan slightly furrowing his brows. "You don't like the black swan's performance?" I asked softly. "Technically perfect, but lacking soul," he said bluntly. "Trying too hard to showcase oneself ends up losing genuine beauty." His words struck me like a bolt of lightning. Trying too hard to showcase oneself often loses the beauty of authenticity. Isn't this Lin Wanqing's true portrayal? After the performance, as we were about to leave, Chen Yuro blocked our path. "Qingyuan, what a coincidence," she said with a sweet smile, though her gaze was sharp. "I didn't expect you to come watch ballet." Gu Qingyuan merely gave a slight nod. "Miss Chen," Chen Yuro's gaze turned to me, "Miss Lin also enjoys ballet. I heard you grew up abroad, so you might not be very familiar with the domestic art scene." The barb in her words couldn't have been more obvious. Just as I was about to respond, Gu Qingyuan spoke first. "Wei Yue has excellent artistic discernment. She just accurately pointed out the flaws in the Black Swan performance." Chen Yuro's smile froze on her face. "Is that so? It's getting late. We should go." Gu Qingyuan gently supported my back, guiding me away with an air of undeniable certainty, settling into the car. I couldn't help but laugh. "You've completely offended Miss Chen just now," it doesn't matter. He started the car. I don't like her pretentious manner. The neon lights of Beijing flickered in the deep night. As the car drove past Chang'an Avenue, the Tiananmen Gate Tower stood solemn and majestic under the lights. Thank you for today, I said as I got out of the car in front of the Lin family's house. The performance was wonderful. Gu Qingyuan stood by the car, his silhouette strikingly clear in the night. There's a charity auction next weekend. Would you like to be my +1? Seeing the rare anticipation in his eyes, I nodded. I'd love to. He smiled, a warmth breaking through like spring melting winter's ice. Then, see you next week. Walking into the house, I found my brother waiting for me in the living room. How was the date? He teased. It was lovely, I answered truthfully. My brother looked thoughtful. It seems Gu Qingyuan is serious. News of you two watching ballet together has already spread throughout Beijing's elite circles today. I raised an eyebrow. That fast? The eldest daughter of the Chen family isn't someone to be trifled with. My brother shook his head. But as long as you're happy, nothing else matters. Back in my room, I stood by the window, watching Gu Qingyuan's car slowly drive away. This lifetime's interactions were completely different from the last, yet they still made my heart flutter just the same. My phone lit up with a message from Gu Qingyuan. Had a wonderful time tonight, looking forward to seeing you again, I replied with a smiling emoji, feeling a hint of sweetness in my heart. However, this sweetness was quickly shattered by the next message. A news alert popped up on my phone. Mental patient escapes from Northeast Psychiatric Hospital, police conducting full-scale search. The image is a blurry surveillance screenshot, with the girl's gaze appearing frenzied yet familiar. Lin Wanqing has escaped. A sense of foreboding rises within me. This reborn sister will never let things end here. Chapter 6. The winter night in northeast China is bitterly cold, with piercing winds. Lin Wanqing huddled in the back of a freight truck, shivering from head to toe. The compartment was piled high with agricultural products bound for Jing City, emitting a mingled scent of soil and vegetables. Damn it, she muttered through chattering teeth. It had been 3 days since she escaped from the mental hospital. She stole money from a farmer, hitchhiked, evaded checkpoints, and fled southward. Only one obsession occupied her mind: to return to Jing City and reclaim everything that rightfully belonged to her. Lin Weiyue, you stole my life. She gritted her teeth in the darkness. Memories, like shards of broken glass, pierced her nerves. She remembered rushing to be reborn into a peasant family in the northeast, thinking she could replicate Lin Weiyue's success in her previous life. But reality was so cruel. The dirt, the livestock, those vulgar rural accents, everything disgusted her. She refused to work in the fields, despised her parents' rustic clothing, and became withdrawn and rebellious at school. And when her parents decided to have another child, she completely lost her mind. You can't do this to me, I'm your only child. She remembered screaming those words, but no one understood her. They all thought she was insane and locked her away in that terrible place. The truck suddenly braked, and Lin Wanqing slammed into the side of the compartment. Voices of checkpoint staff could be heard outside. What are you transporting? Agricultural products, heading to Jing City. Open up for inspection. Lin Wanqing's heart leaped into her throat. She quickly ducked behind a stack of vegetable crates and covered herself with a burlap sack. The carriage door was pulled open, and a flashlight beam swept across. She held her breath, sensing footsteps drawing nearer. There's something off about this crate of potatoes, a voice said. Cold sweat broke out on Lin Wanqing's palms. Her fingers brushed against a pair of farm scissors nearby, which she gripped tightly. At that moment, another voice chimed in. Forget it, they're all agricultural products, let them pass. The truck door closed again, and the vehicle slowly started moving. Lin Wanqing let out a long sigh of relief as the scissors slipped from her hand. At the same moment, Lin residence in Jing City. I stood in my father's study, staring at the news alert on the computer screen. Lin Wanqing's photo was prominently displayed, with the caption below reading, Dangerous mental patient, if spotted, please report to police immediately. This escaped convict, is she the daughter of that farmer from northeast China that Dad mentioned before? I tried my best to keep my voice steady. Father looked grave. It's her. The police say she suffers from severe delusions and could be dangerous. My brother Lin Qinxian pushed open the door. I saw the news. This is terrifying. A mentally ill person escaping all the way from northeast China to Beijing. The police have already increased security, Father said, but we still need to be careful, especially Weiyue. Try to minimize going out during this period. I nodded, but an ominous premonition lingered in my heart. Lin Wanqing wouldn't come to the capital city for no reason. Her target was most likely me. My phone vibrated. A message from Gu Qingyuan, saw the news, are you okay? I replied. I'm fine, thanks for asking. His call came through immediately. I'm worried about your safety. That fugitive, I heard she once mentioned the Lin family by name. I froze. How did you know? I have my sources. His voice was grave. Weiyue, this matter might not be simple. I've already arranged for bodyguards. They'll protect you discreetly. Isn't that a bit excessive? I tried to downplay it. It's necessary. His tone brooked no argument. I can't let you face any danger. After hanging up the phone, I stood by the window, watching the newly added security personnel in the courtyard. Gu Qingyuan's concern moved me, but Lin Wanqing's escape worried me even more. What exactly is she planning? On the outskirts of Jing City, the truck finally came to a stop. Lin Wanqing quietly climbed out of the cargo compartment and found herself in a large wholesale market. The bustling market at dawn was filled with voices as vendors busily unloaded goods. And no one noticed the disheveled girl. She slipped into the public restroom, staring at her disheveled reflection in the mirror. Tangled hair, pale face, wearing a stolen cotton coat that didn't fit. This isn't me, this shouldn't be me, she murmured to herself in the mirror. During those days in the mental hospital, she kept replaying every detail of her past life. That bitch Lin Weiyue. Why did she get the love of the Buddha's disciple in both lifetimes? Why was she always so lucky, this time? It's my turn, she laughed wildly, but tears streamed down her face. She washed her face with cold water, stole a coat hanging on a vendor's rack, and blended into the morning rush hour crowd. In the subway of Jing City, she stared at the promotional poster of the Lin Group on the billboard, where Lin Weiyue smiled radiantly, exuding elegance and nobility, putting on airs. Lin Wanqing muttered through gritted teeth, following the crowd. She arrived at the most bustling commercial district of Jing City. Skyscrapers towered everywhere, luxury cars weaved through the streets. Everything felt so familiar yet so distant from the elite circles she remembered. On the television wall of a boutique, she saw an even more glaring scene, news footage of Gu Qingyuan and Lin Weiyue attending a charity event side by side. In front of the camera, Gu Qingyuan remained as aloof and noble as ever. Yet his gaze toward Lin Weiyue was gentle and attentive. Lin Wanqing screamed uncontrollably. Passers-by turned their heads one after another, and security guards approached warily. She hurriedly ducked into an alley, leaning against the wall while gasping for breath. Jealousy coiled around her heart like a venomous serpent, gnawing relentlessly. Just wait, Lin Weiyue, I'll take back everything that belongs to me. She pulled out a stolen fruit knife from her pocket, its blade glinting coldly under the sunlight. In the Lin residence, I inexplicably shivered. Are you cold? Mother asked with concern. Shall I turn up the air conditioning? I shook my head. It's all right. Outside the window, the sky gradually darkened. The nightscape of Jing City sparkled like stars, yet beneath this brilliance, darkness was quietly brewing. The phone rang again. This time, it was Gu Qingyuan inviting me to meet. Are you free tomorrow? I'd like to take you somewhere. I replied in agreement, yet a faint unease lingered in my heart. Chapter 7. The place Gu Qingyuan took me to was a horse ranch on the outskirts of Beijing. Winter sunlight filtered through the bare branches, casting dappled shadows on the racetrack. Several riders were training in the distance, the rhythmic sound of hooves echoing faintly. I didn't expect you to be into equestrian sports, I remarked softly, watching Gu Qingyuan skillfully stroke the neck of a purebred black horse. He handed me a carrot. Want to try? It's very gentle. I cautiously reached out my hand, and the black horse gently took the carrot from my palm, its warm breath brushing against my fingers. My mother loved horseback riding more than anything when she was alive, Gu Qingyuan suddenly said. I froze. This was the first time he had voluntarily brought up anything about his family. She passed away when I was 10. His voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed a hint of pain. Cancer. Ever since then, I've come here often. When I ride, I feel closer to her. My heart clenched. In this lifetime, Gu Qingyuan had lost his mother so early. I'm sorry, I whispered. I shouldn't have asked. No. He turned to look at me. I wanted to tell you. We walked side by side along the fence of the horse ranch as he continued speaking. After mother passed away, father never recovered and followed her within a year. I was practically raised by my aunt. I listened quietly, waves of sorrow rising in my heart. So beneath the halo of the capital's Buddhist prince lay such a heartbreaking past. Many people envy my background. He smiled self-deprecatingly. But they don't know I'd trade everything for an ordinary life with my parents by my side. These words felt so familiar, reminding me of similar words he'd said to me in my past life. Back then, I was the wild girl from the northeast while he was the lofty Buddhist prince, yet he said he envied my freedom and happiness, so that's why. I paused. You've become so distant. He stopped walking and looked at me earnestly. Before I met you, I did think this world was quite dull. Everyone wears masks, everything is full of schemes, and now, I couldn't help but ask. The corner of his lips lifted slightly. Now I've discovered that there are still people who can live so authentically real. I smiled bitterly in my heart. If he knew I carried memories from 2 lifetimes, would he still think I'm real? We walked to a small hill at the end of the horse farm, where we could overlook the entire grounds. Gu Qingyuan pointed to a white steed galloping alone in the distance. Look at that horse. Its name is Windchaser, the descendant of my mother's favorite steed when she was alive. It's proud and solitary, never allowing anyone to ride it, but it's a wonderful companion. I watched the white horse, its gait elegant and unrestrained, as if chasing the wind itself. It's very much like you, I blurted out. Gu Qingyuan raised an eyebrow. Like me? Yes, I smiled. Elegant, free, unwilling to be restrained. He looked at me deeply, emotions surging in his eyes. Then would you be willing to become the one who can tame me? The words were like a stone cast into a calm lake, sending ripples through my heart. Just then, my phone suddenly rang. It was my brother calling. Weiyue, where are you? His voice was unusually tense. At the riding club. What's wrong? The police have found Lin Wanqing's trail. She stole something from a convenience store in Jing City yesterday, and her face was caught on surveillance. She's likely somewhere near us right now. My heart sank abruptly. I see. I'll head back right away. Hanging up the phone. Gu Qingyuan immediately noticed my unease. What's wrong? After hesitating briefly, I decided to tell him the truth. That girl who escaped from the mental hospital might have come to Jing City looking for me. His expression instantly turned serious. I'll take you back. On the way back, Gu Qingyuan gripped the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles turning white. Weiyue, he suddenly spoke up. There's something I must tell you. What? I've investigated that girl's background. His voice was low. She mentioned Master Fozi multiple times, mentioned the Lin family, and said some very strange things. My heart raced. What did she say? She said, this world should have been hers, that she was the true Lin family heiress. He paused. The strangest part is, she accurately described some of your daily habits, even details only family members would know. I froze in my seat, my blood seeming to instantly congeal. The police think it's just symptoms of delusional disorder. Gu Qingyuan continued, but I always felt, there's more to it than that. I remained silent, unsure how to respond. Should I tell him that both Lin Wanqing and I are reincarnators? Would he even believe me? Weiyue, his voice softened, no matter what happens, I will protect you. These words felt so familiar, reminding me of how he had guarded me in our previous lives. Even though our identities had changed, even though our circumstances were different, some things remained constant. The car entered the Lin family estate, where security had clearly been tightened. Gu Qingyuan insisted on escorting me to the door. At the door, he gently held my hand. Promise me, you'll be careful. I nodded, feeling warmth surge in my heart as I saw the worry in his eyes. As I stepped inside, my brother immediately came forward. Are you okay? Did Gu Qingyuan do anything to you? I couldn't help but laugh. What could he possibly do to me? My brother looked serious. I'm just worried about you. The situation is unusual right now, and there's no telling what that crazy woman might do. I glanced out the window. Gu Qingyuan's car was still parked in the same spot, as if he wouldn't leave until he was sure I was safe. Brother, I said softly, I think I can trust him. My brother sighed. I know. It's just that as your older brother, I can't help but worry. That night, lying in bed, I recalled what Gu Qingyuan had said. He had clearly sensed that Lin Wanqing's situation was unusual, but something as bizarre as reincarnation. Who would believe it so easily? My phone lit up with a message from Gu Qingyuan. Xuefeng seemed to really like you today. Want to go feed him together next time? I replied, sure. Putting down my phone, I walked to the window and was surprised to see his car still parked at the street corner. He had actually been keeping watch there all along. I dialed his number. Haven't you gone back yet? His deep voice came through the phone. I want to make sure you're safe. Go back, I said softly. I'm fine, just a little longer, he insisted. I gazed at the familiar car outside the window, a strange feeling welling up in my heart. In this lifetime, Gu Qingyuan was even more persistent than in the previous one, and also more heartbreaking. Late at night, his car finally drove away slowly. Yet I didn't know that beneath the distant tree shadows, Another pair of frenzied eyes was fixed intently on my window. Lin Wanqing tightened her grip on the fruit knife in her pocket, a twisted smile spreading across her face. Soon, sister, we'll meet very soon. Chapter 8. The winters in Jing City are getting colder, with pedestrians on the streets wrapping themselves tightly in coats. Hurrying along, I sat in the cafe of the Lin Group headquarters building, waiting for my father to finish work, since Lin Wanqing reappeared in Jing City. My family insisted that I always have someone accompany me. Miss Weiyue, your latte. The waiter respectfully handed me the coffee. After thanking him, my gaze inadvertently swept across the window. Across the street, a figure in a gray coat quickly ducked into an alley. It's her again. This isn't the first time. For the past few days, I've constantly felt like someone was following me. That prickling sensation on my back has left me restless and uneasy. What are you looking at? My brother's voice suddenly rang out. I jumped in surprise and turned to see Lin Qinxian sitting across from me, briefcase in hand. Nothing, I forced a smile, probably just my imagination. My brother's expression turned serious. Did you feel it too? Someone following us? I hesitated for a moment before nodding. The police have increased patrols, but that Lin Wanqing seems to have vanished into thin air. My brother lowered his voice. Dad's worried. He's considering sending you abroad to lay low for a while. Going abroad? I instinctively shook my head. No, I can't leave at this time. Not only was I worried that Lin Wanqing might harm my family, but also, Gu Qingyuan, since that day at the horse ranch, our relationship had clearly grown closer. He would text me every day to check on my safety. And whenever he asked me out, he would always personally pick me up and drop me off. Because of Gu Qingyuan, my brother asked knowingly. I took a sip of coffee without denying it. My brother sighed. I understand, but Weiyue, safety first. Just then, my phone rang. It was Gu Qingyuan. Where are you? His voice sounded urgent. At the coffee shop downstairs from the company, with my brother. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Stay put. He paused. My bodyguards just spotted someone lurking near the Lin Group building. It's likely that escaped convict. My heart sank. So it wasn't just my imagination. After hanging up, I told my brother, Gu Qingyuan will be here soon. He said his people spotted Lin Wanqing's trail. The brother immediately became alert and signaled the bodyguards nearby to heighten their vigilance. 10 minutes later, Gu Qingyuan hurried into the cafe. He was wearing a black overcoat today, his expression grave. We need to talk, he said to me, then looked at my brother. Qinxian, you come too. We went to Gu Qingyuan's car, where he handed me a folder. This is the result of the private investigator I hired, he said gravely. Lin Wanqing has not only appeared multiple times at places you frequent but also attempted to break into your apartment building. I opened the folder to find several surveillance screenshots. Though the images were blurry, I could recognize Lin Wanqing. She wore a hat, deliberately avoiding the cameras, but her frenzied eyes were unmistakable. What does she even want? My brother frowned. Gu Qingyuan took a deep breath. The most unsettling part is that she seems to know everything about you, your schedule, your preferences, even things from your childhood. I clenched the folder in my hand until my knuckles turned white. Lin Wanqing knew me well, of course. We had been sisters, living through 2 lifetimes together. The police have already included this evidence in the case files, Gu Qingyuan continued, but the problem now is, we can't find where she's hiding. The car drove toward the Lin family estate in silence. Everyone was lost in their own thoughts. After arriving home, Gu Qingyuan insisted on walking me to the door. Weiyu, he called softly at the door. There's something I've been meaning to ask you. What? He gazed into my eyes. You know Lin Wanqing, don't you? Before all this happened. I froze in place, unsure how to respond. I don't know why, he continued, but I can sense there's a peculiar connection between you two. It's not just her one-sided delusion. I lowered my head, avoiding his probing gaze. Some things, I don't know how to explain. He gently lifted my chin, forcing me to meet his gaze. You can trust me, no matter how bizarre the truth may be. At that moment, I almost blurted it out. But in the end, I still hesitated. Give me some time, I whispered. When all this is over, I'll tell you everything. He nodded without pressing me further. All right, I'll wait. Watching his retreating figure, I felt a pang of guilt. He treated me with such sincerity, yet I couldn't be honest with him. That night, I slept restlessly. In my dream, Lin Wanqing chased me frantically, wielding a sharp blade. Gu Qingyuan stood in the distance, and though I wanted to call for help, no sound escaped my lips. At 3 in the morning, I was startled awake by my phone vibrating. It was a message from Gu Qingyuan. Can't sleep, worried about you. Are you okay? I replied, had a nightmare, but I'm okay. His call came through immediately. I couldn't sleep either, kept thinking about Lin Wanqing. We talked for a long time, from childhood anecdotes to life aspirations. Over the phone, his voice sounded gentler than usual, carrying a comforting strength. You know, he said, before you came along. I'd grown accustomed to solitude, but now, I'm afraid of losing this warmth. My heart softened. You won't lose it. After hanging up the phone, I walked to the window and unexpectedly found his car parked at the street corner again. This stubborn man was keeping watch through the night once more. I waved at him, and the car lights flashed twice in response. Yet, in the shadows where neither of us noticed, Lin Wanqing was capturing this moment with her newly stolen phone. Her face was twisted with frenzied jealousy and hatred. Showing off your love, she sneered, saving the photo. You won't be laughing for long. She opened another folder filled with secretly taken photos of me, coming and going from the Lin family home, dating Gu Qingyuan, even childhood pictures. It was unclear how she had obtained them. Just wait, dear sister, she murmured to herself. You'll pay for this. Chapter 9. The charity auction banquet was held in the grand ballroom of the most luxurious hotel in Jing City. Crystal chandeliers refracted dazzling light as the elite of Jing City's high society gathered amidst elegant dresses and polished appearances. I wore a silver-gray evening gown, with the diamond necklace gifted by Gu Qingyuan around my neck, and entered the venue arm in arm with him. Instantly, countless gazes focused on us. Nervous? Gu Qingyuan asked softly, his hand gently covering mine. I shook my head with a smile. With you here, I'm not nervous. This was the truth. Whenever I was with Gu Qingyuan, I always felt an inexplicable sense of security, as if any difficulty could be easily resolved. Madame Gu walked towards us, wearing a deep blue cheongsam today, exuding an air of elegance. Weiyue, you look absolutely beautiful today. Thank you, Madame Gu, I replied gracefully. Madame Gu nodded in satisfaction and said to Gu Qingyuan, take good care of Weiyue. I'm going to meet some old friends. No sooner had we taken our seats than Qinyuro approached gracefully. Today, she had deliberately dressed in an exceptionally striking manner, her red gown flowing like a flame. Qingyuan, Weiyue, what a coincidence. Her smile was flawless, but the envy in her eyes was hard to completely conceal. Gu Qingyuan merely gave a slight nod without saying much. Qinyuro, however, pressed on. I heard there's a Monet's water lilies among this auction's items. Qingyuan, you must be interested, right? Perhaps. His reply remained succinct. I could feel Gu Qingyuan's fingers slightly tighten, clearly growing impatient with Qinyuro's persistence. Sorry, we're meeting some friends. I stood up at the right moment, linking arms with Gu Qingyuan, and nodded politely to Qinyuro. After walking away, Gu Qingyuan murmured, thanks for the rescue. I chuckled lightly. Seems Miss Chen still can't forget about you. I've only ever been ordinary friends with her. He looked at me earnestly. There's only one person in my heart, and you should know who it is. My cheeks grew slightly warm, and just as I was about to respond, I suddenly felt a familiar gaze. I turned my head abruptly, scanning the entire banquet hall. What's wrong? Gu Qingyuan asked alertly. Nothing. I forced myself to relax. Probably just my imagination, but I knew it wasn't an illusion. That feeling of being watched by a venomous snake, only Lin Wanqing could evoke it in me. The auction officially began, and we returned to our seats. When Monet's water lilies was displayed, Gu Qingyuan raised his paddle to bid. 10 million, he calmly quoted. A murmur swept through the venue. The painting's estimated value was around 8 million. Gu Qingyuan's bid clearly signaled his determination to win. 11 million. Another voice chimed in. It was Lu Jingxian, the crown prince of Beijing's elite circle, sitting not far away, raising his glass to me in acknowledgement. Gu Qingyuan's brows furrowed slightly. 12 million, 000, 13 million. Lu Jingxian continued bidding, yet his gaze remained fixed on me. The atmosphere in the room instantly grew subtle. Everyone could see this was no longer a simple auction. It had become a contest between two men. I gently pressed Gu Qingyuan's hand. There's no need for this, yet he tightened his grip on mine. This painting suits you. In the end, Gu Qingyuan won the bid for the painting at the astronomical price of 15 million. When the auctioneer's hammer fell, the entire room erupted in applause. Congratulations, young Master Gu. Lu Jingxian approached with a meaningful smile. Quite the extravagant gesture. For someone worthy, everything is worth it. Gu Qingyuan responded calmly. Lu Jingxian turned to me. Miss Weiyue, would you do me the honor of sharing a dance? I was about to decline when Gu Qingyuan stood up. Apologies, but Weiyue's first dance is mine. The music began at just the right moment. and Gu Qingyuan took my hand, leading me to the dance floor. "Are you jealous?" I whispered softly in his ear. His arms tightened slightly around me. "I just don't like others coveting what's mine." Those words made my heart skip a beat. His woman, what a captivating way to put it. We twirled across the dance floor, his lead both firm and gentle, though surrounded by envious or admiring gazes. In that moment, my world contained only him. "That painting is far too valuable," I murmured softly. "It's not worth even a fraction of your worth," he said, gazing into my eyes. "Weiyue, His words were cut off by a sudden commotion. At the entrance of the banquet hall, a heated argument erupted, and a familiar woman's voice shrieked, "Let me in, I need to see Gu Qingyuan." My blood ran cold. It was Lin Wanqing. Gu Qingyuan immediately shielded me, and the bodyguards quickly closed in around us. Lin Wanqing broke through the security guard's blockade and stormed into the banquet hall. She was wearing an ill-fitting evening gown, her hair disheveled and makeup smudged, exuding an aura of madness. "Sister," she shrieked, pointing at me, "you thief, you stole my life." The entire room erupted in gasps, and countless phones were raised to capture this dramatic scene. "Security," Madame Gu shouted sharply. Lin Wanqing burst into laughter instead. "What? Afraid I'll reveal the truth?" Her gaze shifted to Gu Qingyuan. "Master Buddha, do you know your beloved woman is a fraud? She knows many things because she's just like me." "Enough," Gu Qingyuan interrupted coldly. "Take her out." The bodyguard stepped forward to restrain Lin Wanqing. She struggled desperately, screaming hoarsely, "We're both reincarnators. Our lives were supposed to be swapped, Lin Weiyue. You'll die a horrible death." Her voice gradually faded away, but the shock it left enveloped the entire banquet hall. I stood frozen in place, my face pale. The thing I feared most had still happened. Gu Qingyuan gripped my hand tightly. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." His gaze held no trace of doubt, only complete trust and protectiveness. In that moment, I knew, no matter what the truth was, he would stand by my side. Yet, when I looked around, I was met with countless suspicious and probing gazes. Chapter 10. Gu Qingyuan's apartment was located in the most exclusive high-rise residential area of Jing City, offering a panoramic night view of the entire city through its floor-to-ceiling windows. But at this moment, I had no mind to appreciate it. "Have some hot tea." He handed me an exquisite porcelain cup, his voice softer than usual. I took the teacup, my hands trembling slightly. Lin Wanqing's screams from the banquet hall still echoed in my ears, and those shocked, questioning stares continued to sting my nerves. "She said," I struggled to speak, "aren't you curious?" Gu Qingyuan sat down on the sofa opposite me, his gaze calm. "I'm waiting for you to tell me yourself." The neon lights outside the window reflected on his face, outlining his sharp features. At this moment, he was no longer the lofty, Buddha master of the Beijing elite circle, but just a man willing to listen. I took a deep breath, knowing I could no longer hide it. "Some of what Lin Wanqing said was true," I said softly, watching his reaction. He showed no surprise, merely giving a slight nod. "Go on." "We did indeed experience one lifetime together." I chose my words carefully. "In that life, I was reborn into a farming family in the northeast, while she became the heiress of a wealthy family in the capital." A flicker of astonishment passed through Gu Qingyuan's eyes, but his composure quickly returned. "In that lifetime, I got into a university in the capital city and met you," I continued, my voice softening involuntarily. "You always listened to me quietly, your gaze so gentle when you looked at me." "Did we fall in love?" he asked softly. I nodded, my eyes growing slightly warm. "Yes, but Lin Wanqing was jealous of me. She pushed me off the building." Gu Qingyuan's hands suddenly tightened, his knuckles turning white. "Then I woke up and found myself back in the underworld, choosing rebirth again." I continued, "This time, Lin Wanqing rushed to pick a peasant family in the northeast, thinking that would win your love, and I became the heiress of the Lin family." After saying all this, I lowered my head, not daring to meet his eyes. The truth was too absurd. Anyone would think I'd gone mad. A long silence stretched between us, each second feeling like an eternity. Finally, he spoke. "So that's why, from the very first moment we met, you felt so familiar to me." I looked up in surprise. "Those dreams," he mused. "I often dream of a girl running through fields, her smile as bright as sunshine, but I could never clearly see her face." My heart pounded wildly. "You remember?" "Not exactly." He shook his head. "Just a feeling. When I first saw you, that feeling suddenly took concrete form." He sat up and moved beside me, gently taking my hand. "Now I understand. Those were memories of the soul, tears blurred my vision. Do you believe me? Don't you think I'm crazy? He tenderly wiped away my tears. I believe you, because only this explanation can account for why I feel such intense familiarity and protectiveness toward a girl I've just met. At that moment, the weight in my heart finally lifted. I buried myself in his embrace, tears soaking his shirt. In that lifetime, I failed to protect you. His voice was filled with pain. In this life, I will never let anyone hurt you again. We sat embraced as the city lights of Beijing began to glow outside the window. At the pinnacle of this bustling metropolis, two souls had finally found their way back to each other. Lin Wanqing, I murmured softly, she's pitiful too. Blinded by jealousy, she couldn't find happiness in either lifetime. Gu Qingyuan's gaze turned cold. The pitiful inevitably have their despicable sides, whether in past lives or this one. She chose hatred and jealousy. She must bear the consequences. At that moment, his phone rang. After answering the call, his expression turned grave. The police found Lin Wanqing's temporary residence, he said. It was covered with photos of you, along with some threatening letters. My heart sank. She truly hates me to the core. The police have launched a citywide manhunt. She has nowhere to hide. Gu Qingyuan tightened his grip on my hand. Until she's caught, I'll assign more people to protect you. That night, Gu Qingyuan personally escorted me home. In front of the Lin family mansion, he gently kissed my forehead. Whether in past lives or this one, my heart beats only for you, he whispered, entering the house. I found the entire family sitting in the living room, their expressions grave, clearly. The commotion at the charity banquet had already spread. Weiyue, father began solemnly, we need to talk. I nodded and sat down on the sofa across from them. What was that girl talking about? My mother asked worriedly. I took a deep breath and decided to tell them part of the truth. Of course, I omitted the part about rebirth, only saying that Lin Wanqing suffered from severe delusions and firmly believed she should be the Lin family's daughter. She might have investigated our family background, I explained, so she knew some details, which deepened her delusions. Brother frowned, but she said you're all reincarnators. The logic of delusional patients often forms its own system, I said calmly. She needs professional psychological treatment. The family accepted this explanation, but I could see the worry in their eyes hadn't completely dissipated. That night, lying in bed, I recalled Gu Qingyuan's words, memories of the soul. So even after rebirth, even with changed identities, some bonds still cannot be severed. The phone lit up with his message, dreamt of you, in the fields of northeast China. You were laughing so happily, I replied. That must have been our past life. Putting down the phone, I walked to the window. The night sky over Beijing was unusually clear, dotted with stars. Chapter 11. The first snow of Beijing arrived quietly, with delicate snowflakes dancing in the air. Draping the bustling city in a silver coat, standing by the window, I watched the snow gradually accumulate in the courtyard, yet an inexplicable unease lingered in my heart. Today was the day Gu Qingyuan was formally coming to propose marriage, but the feeling of being watched was stronger than ever before. Miss, young Master Gu has arrived, the servant announced outside the door. Taking a deep breath, I adjusted my pale pink suit and stepped out of the room. Downstairs, Gu Qingyuan was talking with his parents. He was wearing a dark blue suit today, exuding an air of noble elegance. When he saw me, a gentle smile immediately appeared in his eyes. Weiyue, he stood up and walked toward me. You look beautiful today. Father nodded with a smile. Qingyuan has just formally proposed marriage, and we are all very pleased with this match. Mother's eyes turned slightly red as she held my hand. My little princess is finally getting married. Seeing the relieved smiles on my family's faces, the unease in my heart eased slightly. In this lifetime, I could finally be with the one I love openly and as equals. I've already started preparing for the wedding, Gu Qingyuan said softly, hoping to hold it in spring. I nodded with a smile, feeling almost overwhelmed with happiness. Just then, the doorbell suddenly rang urgently. The butler went to answer it and returned with a grave expression. Master, madam. There's a young lady outside insisting on seeing Miss Weiyue, claiming to be her sister. The room fell into instant silence. Gu Qingyuan immediately stepped in front of me, his gaze sharp. Call the police. But it was already too late. Lin Wanqing's hysterical laughter echoed from the doorway as she forcibly burst into the living room, clutching a gleaming dagger in her hand. Sister, she laughed shrilly. Indeed, we've been sisters across 2 lifetimes, my dear elder sister. Father immediately triggered the security alarm, and bodyguards swiftly closed in, but Lin Wanqing moved faster. lunging at me with a dagger aimed straight at my heart. Time seemed to freeze in that moment. I saw Gu Qingyuan shielding me without hesitation, my parents' horrified expressions, my brother trying to rush forward. Then came a dull thud. Gu Qingyuan's arm was slashed by the dagger, instantly staining his white shirt with blood, yet he paid it no mind. Seizing the opportunity to grab Lin Wanqing's wrist instead, with a swift maneuver, he pinned her to the ground. "Let me go, you liars, thieves!" Lin Wanqing struggled wildly, her eyes filled with utter madness. "That should have been my life. The Buddha's child should have been mine." The police arrived quickly and handcuffed Lin Wanqing. Before being taken away, she glared at me fiercely, her voice shrill. "Why, Lin Weiyue? Why do you win in both lifetimes? I refuse to accept this, I refuse." Her cries gradually faded into the distance, leaving only a heavy silence in the living room. "Your hand." I hurriedly checked Gu Qingyuan's injury. Fortunately, it was just a flesh wound. He shook his head gently. "I'm fine. What matters is your safety." Mother was already in tears, while father held her shoulders with a grave expression. My brother wore a look of lingering fear. This entanglement that lasted 2 lifetimes finally came to an end in such a tragic manner, 3 months later. In the grandest banquet hall of Jing City, my wedding with Gu Qingyuan took place as scheduled. Dressed in a custom-made wedding gown and wearing a priceless crown, I walked toward the man waiting for me, escorted by my father. Gu Qingyuan stood at the end of the red carpet, dressed in a white suit, as handsome as a prince from a fairy tale. When he looked at me, his eyes were filled with undisguised love and tenderness. "I do." Our voices chimed in unison as we exchanged vows. Sharing a knowing smile, amidst the applause of gathered guests, he kissed me gently. In that moment, every hardship and weight became worthwhile. At the wedding banquet, my brother Lin Qinxian toasted. My sister and brother-in-law's story teaches us that true love can overcome all obstacles, even what seems like insurmountable fate. Those who knew exchanged smiles, while the uninitiated mistook it for mere romantic rhetoric. Lu Jingxian also came to offer his congratulations. Raising his glass to Gu Qingyuan, he said, "Treat her well, or I won't let you off." Gu Qingyuan responded calmly, "You won't get the chance." The spring sunlight filtered through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns across the banquet hall. Amidst the joyous atmosphere, my thoughts occasionally drifted to Lin Wanqing. I heard she was sentenced to mandatory treatment. This time, there would be no escape for her. I hope one day she can let go of her obsessions and find inner peace. "What are you thinking about?" Gu Qingyuan asked softly, his hand holding mine tightly all along. I shook my head with a smile, just feeling that fate is truly magical. He gently kissed my hand. "No matter how fate arranges things, what matters is that we've finally found each other." After the wedding, we flew to France for our honeymoon. Amidst the lavender fields of Provence, Gu Qingyuan suddenly said, "I dreamed more." I looked at him curiously. "In that lifetime, you always wore simple t-shirts and jeans, your smile brighter than sunshine." His gaze was tender. "You ran through the fields, and I chased after you." My eyes welled up. "You remember." "It's not a complete memory." He shook his head. "But enough for me to know that what I've always loved is your soul, not your identity." "Yes." Whether I'm the daughter of a farmer in the Northeast or the heiress of a wealthy family in Beijing, I've always been myself, and he has always been the one who would fall in love with the real me. As the sun set in the west, we held each other's hands tightly. The scent of lavender filled the air, like the fragrance of love, enduring and sweet. "In this lifetime, we will be happy together until old age," he whispered softly in my ear. I smiled and nodded, my heart filled with tranquility. The entanglement of 2 lifetimes finally came to fulfillment in this moment. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.